Hey y'all, I wanted to talk about a couple things today. The first is being accountable to yourself, which is definitely like the most important person to be accountable to. The second is understanding that every emotion or feeling that you have, every reaction that you have, is really identifying a state and a belief that you have. And you have to get to a certain point where you decide this is not going to work for me anymore. I can't wait anymore. I need to change something, because if you're continuing in the same cycle, you haven't changed any beliefs. I think this was something really difficult for me not to grasp, but to truly embody, was to say, if I'm living the same life every day, and there's areas of that life that I would like to see improvement, whether that's in my finances, my love life, relationships with others, my own personal level of happiness, etc. And I'm doing the same habits every day, and I'm having the same cycle that comes into my life. I continue to receive the same things, I continue to feel the same way, etc. That really tells you where your state actually is. I try to share on here quite a lot that the most important thing that you can do is be honest with yourself. If you say, this is something that I want, I don't currently have it, but this is something that I want, and you notice that weeks go on and you're still continued stuck in this state of what you don't want, then you haven't really changed any of your beliefs. And there's steps that you can take to work on those, but it starts with saying, no, I'm really going to change this. The point of like my content is that I had found that I went through this cycle when I first started learning about any kind of law of attraction stuff, or law of assumption, law of belief, Neville Goddard, Joseph Murphy, all of the teachers, that I had caught up in this cycle of like trying to understand this balance of taking no action or only inspired action, and what was my ego self and what was my true self, and what was, God speaking to me and what was not, and what's the ways that I should live, like on a daily basis. And getting caught up in those cycles makes it really difficult to be accountable to yourself, because you're waiting for, or at least I was waiting for an external force to come in and finally give me what I felt I had kept asking for. And really, I wasn't asking for it. I was like mindlessly kind of going through these motions without adding the practical tips of making sure that I changed my habits. And this goes back to, I share the book, The Power of Habit, and I also talk about Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe. And both of those kind of showed me that you can't continue to live the same habits, do the same routines, have the same emotional reactions, have the same emotional feelings, and end up having a different life, or end up having more of something in your life or less of something in your life. Those emotional reactions that you have to something continues that cycle. And so I think that's an important piece of this, is to become accountable and say, okay, here is what I want to make sure that I'm changing in my life. And I need to step back and take a look at my daily routines honestly with myself, and identify the areas that I have been stuck in a habit, either consciously or unconsciously, stuck in this habit loop that I'm struggling to get out of. And, the habit loop from The Power of Habit is that you have a cue that can be a time, a emotion, a place, whatever it is. And that cue triggers you to go subconsciously into a routine. Now, the nice thing is that once you become more aware of this and you start looking at these habits that you have, it becomes more conscious. So I can even notice when I'm driving to work, I automatically start to go a certain way. And one of the ways that I've been trying to work at like waking up my brain and being like, no, we want to do something different, we want to be a different person, is by just making a conscious effort to drive a different way to work. Leave at a different time, have a different routine in the morning where I'm still getting these steps in that I want to do. I'm still addressing the things that I want to get done within my morning, but I'm doing it in a way that happens like with more thought, and it kind of triggers my brain to be like, oh, wait a minute, we're doing something different. So take a look at your life, especially today, and say, okay, am I making any progress on the things that I want? If there's things that I'm focused on, am I getting anywhere? And if you're not, start to be honest with yourself. Why am I not getting anywhere? And this isn't just an internal feeling, I'm sorry, but repeating to yourself that you feel like this is already done is likely not actually what you're looking for, because until you start to see like the signs proceed, right? That's what Neville Goddard says. Well, what that means is once this stuff is connected and it's a natural feeling for you, things start to naturally happen. They may be small, but they do start to happen. And I've always found that once I get to that point, it starts to happen within a couple days, and I can start to see these like shifts that are happening. And so if you're continuing in the same cycle week after week after week, you really need to stop and take a look at yourself and say, okay, what can I change here? What can be different? And then identify the habit routine and say, okay, here's my routine is, let's say that around 6 p.m. every night, I feel really lonely. And I kind of go into a cycle of feeling sorry for myself, and I'm sad because I'm so alone. Well, that to you should be a cue that there's something happening at 6 p.m. that's triggering this emotional habit loop to start. And then you get some sort of reward from it. It's either, feeling like you addressed your feelings, or that you're able to be yourself, or maybe you kind of on some level enjoy the comfort of the wallowing in the misery, which you should not be ashamed of. I think human beings fall into that a lot, where we're like, wow, I actually am finding that I am enjoying this comfort feeling, even though it's a comfort feeling that I don't want. But because I'm so used to it and I've been conditioned for it, I'm continuing it. And so take that routine and identify what your cue is. If it's every night at 6 p.m., then start to prepare yourself for this 6 p.m. Make plans. Sign up for an outdoor yoga class in your area. Plan to take a walk at that time. Do something that changes whatever the routine is that triggers you to fall into this like feeling sad and lonely for yourself. I hope now that I covered both of the things that I said I was going to, because I embarrassingly forgot what the second one was that I said. I knew one was accountability, which is a little silly. If I didn't, I'll do another video and post it later today. And then also, everybody who comments about my hair, I greatly appreciate it. You have no idea how amazing you make me feel, and that is very, very sweet. I am going to do a get ready with me video so that I can kind of do my hair stuff. But I will say today's hair is via wash and dry. So that was kind of it. Until next time, have a good one.